Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Carlos. This is my first time posting in a while and posting actual content since yeah. Anyways, before I get into the video topic, I'm gonna explain some stuff. Skip ahead if you don't care at all, I won't be offended. I plan to format most of the videos on here as like basic little sprite guy in the corner of the videos and stuff, you know, basic commentary YouTuber format, okay? Also, I'm not gonna be using like an OC or a Sona like some people use. I'll just use like Roxy from Homestuck because I really like her, or Deadpool from the Marvel comics because I really like him. And maybe in the future I'll use an OC or a Sona because I can draw, guys. Oh my god. Yeah, also what I'll mostly be talking about on this channel and stuff is probably like topics that are related to my interests or just things that I think are important to talk about and stuff. I think that's about everything from the intro. I don't know what else to talk about. Now back to the main topic. Amusement parks have been around for a very long while, dating all the way back to 1558. The very first one was Deerhavsbakken, or just Bakken, which opened in Denmark. It wasn't until the 1860s and 1870s when they would actually add rides into theme parks. At first, they were kind of like these things called pleasure gardens, which basically rich people came to and just walked around because they were rich and they could do whatever. The very first parks were pretty charming, but this was before proper safety guidelines and such were implemented, and so some of the first rides were a bit unsafe, dangerous even. Some very early theme park rides, such as the ice slides and ice mountains from Russia from the 17th century, were like 80 foot tall wooden structures covered in ice that people would slide down on, going up to speeds of like 50 miles per hour, which is like, you know, that's cool and all, but you guys are gonna die. Anyways, these ice slides would later evolve and become what we know today as roller coasters. Now, skipping over to 1915, the Bowls of Joy, located in San Francisco, which would be known as a deadly failure due to the amount of injuries and deaths it caused. The Bowls of Joy would consist of two giant bowls, sort of propeller system that would push the cars up a spiral track, and then it would move on to the second one through a bridge, which would make it go down really fast, really far down, okay? The reason why this was super dangerous is because they didn't properly plan this, and so often the carts would move around and fall over, kind of. People would get injured and stuff. Modern day theme park rides aren't as dangerous as they once were because since then people have put guidelines and rules on how to build and manage rides to avoid injuries. Accidents can still happen, but they are very rare. Otherwise, rides are perfectly safe for people nowadays. But some people don't like safe, okay? Some people like crazy rides. They want rides that are beyond human imagination, or beyond what's even possible. The mix between theme parks and horror is not unheard of. Obviously, there's been multiple movies and such and stuff in media based off amusement parks and circuses where they're the center of like horrible scary murders and other spooky shenanigans happening. What about horror that actually focuses on the rides themselves instead of the environment of the theme parks? The three examples that I'm going to talk about today to further explain. First example will be a clip of a real crazy ride in South Korea. Then the second clip is going to be from a movie, and after that we're going to be looking into a short film. I'm not going to give too much of a big analogy on either of these besides like summarizing what they're about and also explaining why they're scary, I guess. Okay. Now let's get started. The gyro drop appears like any other normal dropper ride, except for the fact that the ride grows in height and extends out to be even taller. And as it speeds up to reach the top, the ride itself drops passengers down and are hung by these bungee ropes that spin them around. And obviously, as a dropper ride does, it'll drop you. The ride looks intense, and there might be some people out there like, oh, that doesn't scare me, I can take it. Well, no you can't, because it doesn't exist. The gyro drop is not real, because it is an edited video mixed with 3D animation. As explained in this video by Captain Disillusion, the video is a static background, with a 3D replica of the original gyro drop ride, but it's made to be exaggerated, because this video was created by the official theme park's YouTube channel to drive in more attention to get the park talked about more. So essentially, it was all a marketing thing. The reason why this is on the list is because it's inspired by the later short film we're going to be talking about. Okay, this example might seem a bit dumb because it's coming from a kids movie, but it further highlights the more disturbing side of these fictional rides, especially in the sense that it's unsafe. I'm going to be giving a summary of the scene and not actually going into the rest of the movie because it'll take too long. In this scene, the president's daughter is attending the Troublemaker theme park, and the owner welcomes her into the park and offers to give her a tour. The park owner goes around showing her the rides, starting off with the Whippersnapper. The ride seems to rapidly whip around the passengers that are kept inside this ball attached to a cord, even going as far as almost touching the ground. The second ride being even more extreme, and even titled the Nerve Wracker, it spins passengers inside these ships until they hit each other, and then it just move on to the next ride. And it's a pretty gross edition, so warning if you have emetophobia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but if you have a fear of seeing vomit or things related to vomit, then probably look away. Ride, it's called The Vomiter, and you know, as you can guess, it makes you vomit. The reason why it makes you vomit is because it's literally spinning at an insane speed that looks like it might even kill a person. And then the final ride, shown to be the most terrifying, is the Juggler. The ride puts passengers inside balls and then lifts them up as it begins to start spinning them around, before the ride starts spinning itself around, apparently going as fast as the US government will allow, and then it juggles you. The scene essentially just showcases a bunch of insane rides, and it being from a kids movie, they don't really go that far into it. It's just a sort of segment to lead up to the rest of the plot. The third and final example is going to be a bit longer because it's from a short film. The film showcases 7 different rides, each differing in how extreme they are, but trust, you do not want to go on any of these rides. I'm going to be giving a summary of each ride and how they work, and then I'll further explain a little bit of details if they help. Starting off with the Spiritron. It's a huge, gigantic globe, or spear, that spins around, with what looks to be many passengers just flying from the spear. The main guy, Dr. Nick Lasowicz, mentions that they had difficulties trying to get people not to fall down from the higher parts of the globe, so they don't come crashing down and get injured. Especially when the ride comes to a stop, and, a distance from that high is definitely going to get some people killed. The second ride was called the Wedding Cake because it had 4 layers / platforms. The ride almost looks safe enough, with the bottom part resembling what a normal ride looks like, but then you look up at the top and see the wedding cake is not normal. Dr. Nick Lasowicz provides an interesting commentary on the ride, as he says, these machines provide total freedom, cutting all connections from the world you live in. Communication, responsibility, weight. Everything is on hold while you're being centrifuged. These rides are clearly part of a bigger project, an experimentation on the human brain. What does spinning around until your guts are all mixed up have to do with your brain? Dr. Nick Lasowicz is aware that the spinning's a bit much, even saying the test results were too extreme to be published. So for their next experiment, they shifted their attention from acceleration to height, which resulted in making high-altitude conveyance. I like the name of that one. The ride itself was 14 hours long. The reason why this ride was 14 hours long was because it was just a gigantic Ferris wheel. According to the doctor, during the first day of opening, many people wanted to get on the ride, but they couldn't because they didn't realize that the hours were that long. And so people would miss their stops and fall asleep even because it was just really boring. The previous experiment made them realize people needed some stimulation so they aren't as bored. And so they created the Expander, which was an interactive ride. You would click these little buttons that would launch you up in the air as you rode in these tiny spaceships. The ride seemed safe enough, except for the fact that if it was placed a little too close to the building, then
anything that's not Bieber dies.
They don't specify what happened to said ride next to the building, but it is implied that there might have been some accidents. Moving on to the next ride, the Dandelion. Well, not the Dandelion, it's just called Dandelion. Looks to be one of those that would swing you back and forth, but the surprise with this one is that the seats would expand and spread out, looking like said name Dandelion. It was designed to be similar to the prenatal experience of when a mother is walking around and the baby would sort of move around, like shaking. There's a huge difference between a baby shaking around a little inside their mom with a ride that swings you back and forth and makes you scream. Okay, we're moving on. Now, on to the final two rides. SPC, Stream Pressure Catapult, and then an unnamed ride. Starting off with SPC, people would go into the ride, but they wouldn't know which track it was going to take. It was sort of similar to a dropper, but not really, kind of a roller coaster. I don't know what specific ride this is meant to be similar to. The unpredictability was a very important factor in the experiment. Apparently, for many people, it resulted in adjustments of key goals and aspirations. And finally, the unnamed ride. It looks like it has two parts where passengers can sit down. It's really tall, and there's no explanation behind the purpose of this ride. It just kind of exists. They don't specify on anything. They don't give it a name. They don't say anything. It's just there. The short film by Till Nowak really captures the horror of these rides, even if it's subtle and it doesn't go into all the gory stuff. You see, this short film, it is not specified that it's a horror movie or a horror short film, but something about it is just really disturbing. Sound design, the way that they don't really specify what happens with these rides, it's implied that there's been accidents, possible deaths and stuff, but they don't ever go that deep into it. It's just these crazy rides. And these rides, they take something that you would be familiar with and we like and it's fun, but then they change it into something unrecognizable, something that's no longer fun, something dangerous. This is theme park ride horror.
This is a replica of Andy's room from
Toy Store.